I'm gonna get naked.
I like your shirt.
Thank you.
I picked that out.
I wore this recently on something.
You wore it on the earbud.
Earbuds?
The earbud.
It's gonna make it look like I never washed my clothes.
He doesn't.
I wore the same thing.
I do it.
All right, so welcome to Friday Live, everyone.
Hey, we're back.
It's been a number of weeks, and I think I really dropped the ball in communicating just how many days we were going to need to take off.
He's not very good at
So
communicating.
folks who are fans of Wood Talk are like, did you guys quit? And because I had threatened to quit like months ago, everyone really thinks we quit.
Yeah.
So Wood Talk's coming back. We're recording today. That'll be available on Monday. And of course, Friday Live is back to our normal schedule.
Woot woot.
So.
Until someone gets sick or hurt
Yes.
or, you know.
Well, that is the normal schedule. We have to take time off for injuries and sickness. So Seattle was amazing. So I went to Seattle for almost a full 2 weeks. I went to.
I was telling somebody you drove there, like, what?
Yeah.
He just has a lot of stuff.
It just made my life, believe it or not, a lot less stressful to drive. Had some tools I wanted to bring, like woodworking stuff that I knew I would need, as well as all of my gear for shooting on location. So it was just easier to bring the truck. And 2 days there, 2 days back, so it was a little, 4 days just in travel. But the rest of the time was spent at Peart's shop in the Seattle area, and then also Anne of All Trades, at her place. So it was a blast. It was a whirlwind. I kind of thought I would catch up on my sleep, but that didn't happen because Darrell is an early bird, and I said, Darrell, what time would you like to start? I will conform to your schedule. That's the courtesy, right? He starts at 4 a.m. 4 a.m. Not waking up at 4 a.m. He's in the shop at 4 a.m.
That's torture.
That's hardcore, is what that is. So I didn't get there at 4. I got there at 4:15 the first day. Then I got there at like 6:15 the next day. But still, so I went from an early bird to the night owl because Anne doesn't mind working late. That's a little more my style. I don't mind starting early, but 7 o'clock, and then I'll work late. I love working late. So I didn't get any sleep, is what it came down to. And here's the thing. I don't know if this happens to you guys, but when I work late in the shop, you've got LED lights that are at the Kelvin temperatures, usually like 4,800, 5,000. There's a lot of blue light. Those are the things that are not conducive to melatonin production. So if you're working in there up till 1 or 2 in the morning, and then you go inside and be like, all right, I'm going to bed. And then you know what'll happen? You stay up and order Blue Spruce tools on your phone. I spent $1,000 while laying in a spare bedroom in Anne's house because I was wide awake and had nothing to do.
It's funny, when Ava was born, I would be up, like midnight feeding. I would find myself on Amazon.
It's a retail therapy thing.
It's weird.
It was so weird. So yeah, hopefully Blue Spruce Tools, you enjoyed that order. Because holy crap, did I do some damage to our checking account.
We're going to do a nice video about Blue Spruce Tools.
Well, yeah, seriously. So it was amazing though. Darrell's shop was fantastic. I'm going to pan over here and show you the thing that we built real quick. These are both going to be guild projects, and you could pre-order these projects now if you are interested. And
Will Stokes says, is the upcoming guild build with Darrell going to be a single 1-hour video? It seems like you guys built that project in record time.
TV magic, baby.
Darrell is a professional.
He's a pro all the way. So this is the Freemont Nightstand, and it is just an amazing piece of, it is Darrell's creation, but obviously it is in the Green and Green family, themed in that way. So you guys are going to be surprised when you see how much of this construction involved biscuits. And not just regular biscuits, he uses a lamello, but still the whole thing was put together, as far as the casework is concerned, with biscuits. And I think that's going to probably explode some people's heads. It's going to be awesome though. So this project, we might do an early release on this. I'm not sure, can't promise, but we'll see. So you could pre-order this project.
But
and by the way,
once it starts, right now you can get it in the bundle discounted, but once it goes.
Yeah, once I go live with it, bundle's done.
Yeah, discount's over.
You can bundle it, but it won't be as big of a discount. This is just an amazing piece. Absolutely love it. Now you might be wondering why I have one, right? This is not just a drawing. This is actually a Freemont Nightstand made by Peart. I bought one from him. I love supporting my fellow craftsmen. I also love doing things that stop my mom from bugging me. And my mom has been bugging me for green and green furniture for a long time. And I keep saying, Mom, I don't feel like making a green and green piece. So this one is like 85, let's say 95. That's the official math, 95% complete. And I need to do some things to finish it off, like the drawers, the handles, and all that jazz. And so I got a little bit of a discount, but I bought it from Darrell, and it's a present for my mom.
Aww, and she's like watching this going,
bring it to me now, bring it to me now. She absolutely loves green and green, and to have a piece made by Darrell and kind of finished by me is pretty cool. So support your fellow craftspeople. That's what I say.
That's why we do the holiday handmade
guides,
holiday
right?
Guides, yeah.
So I had some guy at one of the meetups who was like, he thanked us for doing that. And I said, oh, did you get a lot of sales? He goes, no. So it doesn't happen for everybody. All right, so then I went from Darrell's, shot over to Anne's. Anne lives on a farm. It's like being in a giant petting zoo. She's got donkeys. She's got a llama whose name is Ike, who looks like Cremona, and she's renaming it to, I think she's going to call him Matt from now on. It was fantastic. And Anne just got her shop done. So we got in there. And there were still things that needed to be done, so I'm calibrating bandsaws.
Yeah.
We're swapping out blades on the Sawstop. We needed to get, she had a 6-inch dado stack, so she had to send her husband out to go get an 8-inch dado stack. There was a lot of shop stuff that had to happen.
You go get dado stacks.
Yeah, that's what you do. Well, that's the funny thing, that on the way there, she goes, hey, can you stop and pick something up for me? And normally you think, she probably wants some food or, like a gallon of milk or something. She's like, I need 2 bandsaw blades from Woodcraft. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about.
I was wondering why you went to Woodcraft. That was why.
Stopped at the Seattle Woodcraft. So Anne's place was amazing. It was just a fun experience. They were the most hospitable hosts. They let me stay with them.
Oh, thanks for taking care of them.
And look, having a Spagnolo stay in your house it is not an easy thing. I fart in my sleep. It's a whole thing. But she kept me well fed, and nice. They were awesome. And her husband Adam was a gracious host as well. So thank you guys for hosting me, and I hope we can do something like that again in the future.
And I hear the meetup that you guys planned.
Holy smokes!
Was awesome. In fact, Jeannie in the chat room says
Jeannie's there.
Really nice meeting you.
Jeannie was awesome. She brought her little dog. We had a lot of good conversation. She's from the East Coast, so I immediately felt like I knew her.
Yeah.
Anytime someone has that East Coast, sort of flair to them, it's something I immediately gravitate toward. So I wouldn't call it a pizzazz. I would call it more like an attitude. This meetup at the Pratt Fine Arts Center, which, by the way, thank you to the folks at Pratt for hosting that for us, was pretty much like a standing room only event. I don't know if anyone got a head count, but it was insane. Like, for a regional meetup like that, I've never seen a crowd like this. And here's the cool thing. It wasn't that long ago when I started doing this stuff that magazines, local woodworking clubs, they were all saying that woodworking is dying. Yeah. And they meant that literally, because the older generation of woodworkers was literally getting to that point in life where stuff happens and they pass on, and there were no young people coming to these events. And that was part of our mission when we started the Wood Whisperer, was to go to a place where the younger people are, right? Online. It was the obvious thing. And seeing at this event that, and again, I don't care what people's ages are, it's just an observation. I would guess that the lion's share, over 80% of the people there, were probably under 40. That's amazing for a woodworking thing. So you were the old guy there. I was the most gray guy there. Right? That was incredible to see. It was very heartening, and it let me know that that what everyone is doing in our community, it's working. Yeah. It's effective.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was a blast. So
really cool.
Thanks everybody, and I just want to thank folks who gave me stuff. I got like a goodie bag full of things from people.
What is that?
Nomar Woodworks. This is a bottle opener, custom bottle opener.
Oh, that's sweet.
Turn a Day. I met. Does she have her name on here? I forget her name. Well, shoot. But her, go to Turn a Day.
So she turns something every day.
I guess so. But she made me this gorgeous, absolutely fantastic pen.
This is like really soft.
It is, isn't it though? I got some challenge coins for Nicole.
Oh, who'd you get these from? Do you remember?
I can't remember.
Oh, sorry.
I'm terrible at this.
Usually I'm with him.
She keeps track. Like at a kid's birthday party, she keeps track of who gave what, so I could send them thank you notes. But yeah, everybody was so awesome. Getting to talk to that many people in that area was great.
It's a number 4 with a dragon. It's VP 4 Skinny Dragons.
Yeah.
And then we have the Patrol Squadron 47.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So that's for your collection, huh?
Yay, thank you.
I'll pick that up later. Also want to mention a couple people sent us some cool stuff. I got a new t-shirt here from Naughty Dog Woodshop.
Yep, this is from Oscar and Joel.
Thank you, Oscar and Joel.
They sent us a sticker.
You know what's great? Sometimes people send us t-shirts, and they're nice and all, but I am kind of specific about the material I want out of my t-shirts.
Picky.
And this is the kind of material I like.
Hey, speaking of t-shirts.
Oh, we came out with a custom, sort of one-off design for a new t-shirt,
Yep.
the Pine is Fine shirt.
Yeah,
And you guys who watch this show probably know
Remember that
inside joke.
Yep.
So Pine is Fine, custom designed by our buddy John Funk, and it's available. It's a Teespring website, so it's teespring.com/stores/the-wood-whisperer, and it's dashes between those words, the-wood-whisperer. And we'll put the link there for you if you want to go pick up that shirt. So
I think if you just type in, no, I was going to say, the SEO is not strong with
not there yet.
Teespring.
Okay, Joseph Lapalito, speaking of challenge
yay!
coins, gave us a Fallout 4 challenge coin that Nicole will cherish. You thought it was just a regular
I thought it was a coin.
normal coin, but it's
they're all awesome.
of course.
But I'm a little invested in Fallout 4. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Joe.
And this is, I can't comment on this as far as quality and how well it works, but there is a company or gentleman who owns a company who's making some new card scrapers. It's DFM Toolworks.com. And these are card scrapers and they're blue. And I have to go back in my notes and find out what he said about the blue coating on this. It's something different. I don't know what it does. So we'll find out. But they're blue, and he engraved them with my logo on there, which is pretty awesome. So I'll report back. I wonder if this is something that affects edge life or I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah.
I'm a woodworker.
What do I know?
I don't know anything about metal. So should we do a show today?
I think so.
I think I covered everything that I have here.
I'm pulling questions from the YouTube.
Let's pull questions.
From the YouTube.
From the YouTube.
Chat. But I did get a.
Oh, and Bill, of course.
Oh, Bill!
Got to mention Bill. I ran into Bill Duran from Punish Props, and those guys are awesome. I had a blast.
He just did a build with Adam Savage.
Yes, I do know because we just had a conversation.
I thought that was
He's doing well, and they're looking for a new shop too, like an off-site location.
Yeah.
That's awesome. They're doing great. Punish Props, go check them out.
Bill and Britt do some amazingly cool stuff. I think they've done Fallout stuff too, which I'm like, and he built me a Pit Boy. I have a Pit Boy that he made.
It's pretty awesome.
So anyway, all right, so we got a couple super chats. So I did the one from Triple J Customs, Benjamin Ackenberg. Welcome back, Mark. Missed Friday Live and Wood Talk. Here's some money to mount the hammer from Scott. Oh, you forgot the hammer.
I'll show that in a second.
Okay.
So Scott Hampshire, if you guys know him, he's one of our mods in the Wood Whisper Facebook group and just a community member.
He runs the Reddit.
And he's in Reddit as well. So he was there, which was awesome. I got a chance to meet him, and we were talking about Ben and his name and whether I actually know how to pronounce Ben's last name.
Do I say it right?
Ackenberg.
Ackenberg?
It's Ochtenberg.
Ochtenberg.
And I always like to mispronounce it though. Oh, so here's the thing. We have this ongoing joke.
Baby.
Yeah, we've got this ongoing joke in the forum, not the forum, the Wood Whisperer Facebook group between the mods about throwing down the band hammer.
Yeah.
So you guys know what that's all about.
Yeah.
So Scott made this.
This thing's huge.
And you think the King's Fine Woodworking floor hammer is big?
Yeah.
This is my new chisel mallet.
Let me see this. Oh, it's not as heavy as I thought it was going to be.
No, but it's pretty heavy.
It's still heavy.
I gave it to Mateo to carry in last night. He couldn't carry it.
I was waiting for my weak arm to go, ugh.
So this is the new band hammer. This will most definitely adorn the wall. So you'll see this once I find a place for it and find a good way to hang it on the wall. He brought that thing in, and I'm like, dude, seriously, you made that, and I can keep it? You're amazing. So thank you, Scott. All right, let's do some questions.
All right, well, nobody's asking questions. Somebody just said, are you going back to Seattle soon?
No. Go up to that question right there, the one asking about Jimmy Diresta.
It's not dying. It just needs to be rejuvenated. You got me into it. Thanks again.
Oh. So Wood.Work.Life?
Oh, yeah.
What's his URL? Because he did an interview with Jimmy Diresta
Yeah. I don't know.
back at the Workbench Con thing and asked me if I could do just a little clip. So there's a funny, very fast cameo, around 19 minutes in that interview, I think it's around 19, that I was able to participate in. It's goofy, but if you can Google that, check it out, and maybe he'll put the link in the chat room. All right, what do you got for me?
All right,
Let's do this.
Got another super chat from JB Alexander. He said, for the Insomnia Tool Fund, P.S., was there anything you learned while working with either of the instructors?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, that's a great question.
So here's, I'll pick one thing that stands out from each. What I learned from Darrell is that biscuits are viable. Not that, I'll admit, I personally don't care what anybody uses. And if you want to use pocket screws and biscuits, I fully support that. I'll even teach it because it's fine. I talked about it in like pine is fine. I cover biscuits and pocket screws in the new book. But for my own building, I have other ways of doing things. And if I'm going to do something like that, I'll probably just use the domino. But I've never really fully explored the extent to which you can get away with using biscuits for certain pieces. And watching Darrell use a biscuit joiner to put the Freemont Nightstand together was enlightening, and it was something that kind of opened my eyes, because ultimately Darrell is a builder. He's a production builder. He's building these things for sale. As hobbyists, we tend to overthink this stuff.
Sweat the small stuff.
But a pro's responsibility to himself is to find the quickest way to get the job done that gives the quality level that he needs and no more. Like it's an invisible thing if you do a mortise and tenon versus a biscuit. And if a biscuit will work, why go through the trouble of using a mortise and tenon? That's the sort of production mindset of actually getting these things built and surviving as a woodworker, making money off of selling this stuff. So that was very enlightening. And then at Anne's, a number of things. Anne is, she's well-versed in hand tools. And as you guys know, I like to use hand tools, but it's certainly not the way I was brought up as a woodworker. So a lot of it is, learning after the fact. So we were doing some spoke shave action, and she was specifically helping me with my spoke shave strokes and, learning the proper way to feather through the cut. That's a little bit different than most hand tools that we use. So that was good. I also learned that if you go into someone else's shop and they don't have everything set up, it will most likely become your job to set those things up. That was the other thing I learned from Anne. And also, don't feed the geese.
You're a sucker.
And I am a sucker. And don't pet the pea-stained goat.
Oh, gosh.
This is one of the nights at Anne's. I told you about this last night. And the animals just get out, they're animals. So we're about to film something, and I'm looking out the door. She's facing me, so she can't see, and I'm like, is that goat supposed to be out? So she had to go and chase the goats back into their pen.
I asked them, did you film that? No.
I didn't film
it.
Oh,
that would have been awesome.
And then we get a phone call. I guess she gets a phone call from a neighbor, and the ducks are loose. And she has to go out and scream at the ducks like a crazy lady to get them to come back. So it was pretty fun.
I got a question from Quick Enough. Have you ever had issues with glue curing in a vacuum press?
Yeah. Glue, especially, certain types of glue will require air to cure properly. So a lot of times what will happen is if you put them in a vacuum press, you evacuate that air. That's what causes the pressure to apply to the veneers. And if you don't have air in there, a lot of that glue is not getting the oxygen exposure that it needs to wind up evaporating and drying properly. So it usually comes down to just keeping it in there a little bit longer. And typically what I find is once you take it out of the clamps, there's usually enough pressure from what it did, like the curing that did occur, is usually enough there to hold everything in place. You just want to let it sit for a while because it's going to start to cure up within minutes as you let it sit with no vacuum pressure on it. So just be careful with the panel when you take it out.
David Hunter says, I'd like to make a door with dissimilar woods. One face walnut, the other face something else. How bad of an idea is this, and what am I going to have problems on? And then somebody else said, advice on what's with the doors? Someone wants to build a front door.
I don't know. I just buy my doors.
I know, yeah.
David, it depends on your building method. I don't know how you plan to build this door. If it's some kind of a composite core and you're just doing a veneer on both sides, then it's not going to matter at all. If you're doing some kind of combination where you're laying up solid pieces of dissimilar species and making that your door, I honestly don't know. That's a large scale thing, and only one side is going to probably, well, not probably, obviously one side is only going to receive the weather and possibly sun exposure. So what happens in that situation? I honestly don't know, because in the best case scenario, sometimes doors can warp, even if it's just the solid piece, all the same species. So you make it out of 2 species, you could very well have an issue.
Yeah.
But I think it all comes down to the construction method, and I don't know anyone who's built a door made out of 2 species like that. So I can't even say for sure like what's going to happen. I don't know. But it's an interesting idea.
I wouldn't do it.
It'd be cool.
Well, yeah, but your door, especially if it's like the door to your front.
Yeah, the main door in your house.
Like if you're doing an interior door, then you could probably experiment. But if you're doing like an outside, inside door,
it's a little risky.
do you have any other advice on building a door from Peter?
Nope.
Because he's never built a door.
I've never built an entry door.
Yeah.
Here's my advice. Use quarter sawn material. You want to have the most stable stuff possible, especially for a door. Quarter sawn is likely to get you that. Make sure the stuff is fully seasoned and at the right moisture, moisture content to make sure it's ready for this build. And I would take as many precautions as possible in terms of like milling it down over time. Don't rush it. Mill it a little bit, let it sit for a few days. Mill it a little bit more, let it sit. Take your time with it, and that will hopefully ensure that your parts are going to stay flat.
David said it's going to be an inside door, and he's going to build it and let you know.
Well, if it's an inside door, I don't think it'll be a problem. He should be okay.
Wood.Work.Life said something about using the right bags for the veneer press, the perforated ones.
I don't know. What good
veneer
is a
bags have perforation? Is that right? Perforations in them?
I don't know why. How can he might be talking about something I'm not familiar with, because if usually the goal is to eventually hopefully be able to shut off your vacuum.
Yeah.
The only way you can do that is if your bag is completely sealed.
Right.
So a perforated bag is counterintuitive for that, but maybe it's a system where the vacuum is running constantly, so it has a small amount of air.
He said you need to use the proper bags rather than vacuum pack bags.
I'm not sure. Maybe he can link to what he's talking about. But anytime I've done veneering, it's always been with a sealed bag, and the glue is not 100% cured when it comes out, but it's cured enough.
Okay. Let's see. Michael Gomez. Is it too early for a pre-sale on the new book info?
Yes.
Pre-sale info on the new book.
It is too early. I have done the preliminary work. I actually still have a little bit of stuff that I need to do in terms of like sorting out my writing and my pictures. But now the ball is in the publisher's court, and then they'll come back to me after a certain point, and
ping pong.
Yeah, and then we'll take some more pictures and finalize things. I have no idea date-wise where we're going to be with this thing. It's mostly out of my hands at this point. As soon as I know, I will let you know.
Should we talk about IWF in the book there?
I would leave that to them.
Okay.
It's not our place.
We can't say anything. Something fun. If you're going to be at IWF in Atlanta, we're going to be there. That's what we can say. Will Stokes, did the Sawstop thread in the Guild group change your opinion on safety and compliance?
Complacency?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Did the Sawstop thread in the Guild? Well, no, Will. There's nothing that would change my opinion. My opinion was based on my personal experience, and everyone else just shared their personal experiences. So no, it wouldn't change my opinion. What I had discussed, and this will be interesting for people to think about, I started this thread in the Guild group explaining that this was my first time working on a Sawstop, and I sort of just observed myself and how I was behaving around the Sawstop. And what I noticed was the few extra things that I do, those little extra safety things that I do around a table saw, I found myself inclined not to do them. And I'm not talking about just being blatantly unsafe. I found myself, for instance, when I push a workpiece through, the amount of space that I will let my hand occupy between a fence and a blade, it doesn't take much on this saw, my PM2000, before I'm using a push stick, right? And I try to always use a push stick if I can control it safely. But on the Sawstop, I found myself doing, maybe a 3 or 4 inch piece going, I might be able to do that with my hand. Because in my mind, see, here's the thing, I'm already confident in my skills at a regular table saw. put me on a Sawstop, and I'm even more confident because I really don't think that I'm going to have blade contact. But those little extra things that I usually do to absolutely ensure that there's no way I could have blade contact, I kind of started to think, my brain was going in a direction that was saying, well, do I need to do that? So what happened in this thread is everyone was talking about like comparing the complacency to driving a car. Like because you have a seatbelt and because you have airbags, do you drive any less safe?
No.
You say no, but I've been giving this a lot of thought, and I think you're wrong. Because think about the way that we drive. Let me change it around on you. If you were driving around, freeway, whatever, no seatbelts, no airbags, would you drive any differently?
Maybe slower.
A little slower? Maybe you would brake sooner?
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you would absolutely ensure you use your turn signal every single time. Maybe you wouldn't make an illegal left turn.
Shut up.
Right?
Well, yeah.
Yes, and think about the freeway. What would you do on the freeway if you thought that if you hit the car in front of you, you would be immediately going through that windshield?
Well, what's interesting too is the new car that we have has those sensory things. So if it can project if the car in front of me just stops, it goes beep, 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 brake, 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 brake. And I kind of...
You set it off sometimes?
Well, no, I don't know. I just I don't necessarily rely on it, but I know it's there.
You know it's got your back.
Yeah.
So my point with complacency, everyone is saying, in fact, so to answer Will's question, no, that thread reinforced my theory that most people don't even recognize complacency. Complacency comes when you have confidence and some skill, and then knowing that there's technology there that you just get used to being there.
And I don't even know if people realize they do it. Kind of like
that's what I said.
They have stuff.
Yes, they have no idea that it's actually happening.
Right.
So for me, there are things that I do because I'm on camera all the time and because I'm showing other people how to do this. Like for instance, if I'm pushing something through, a lot of times I'll hook my pinky up over the fence as just like an extra insurance policy, something physically preventing my hand from going any further.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't inclined to do that on the Sawstop. So I'm not saying that this is a bad thing and everybody's different. This was just my experience. But I honestly think that most people, if you're confident around a regular table saw, if you're confident in your skills and you go to a Sawstop, I actually think complacency is inevitable. The question is whether that's a problem. Well, if you're always on a Sawstop, no, it's not. But if you go back to a regular saw, could it be? Well, the thing is, on a regular saw, you know the Sawstop isn't there anymore. So like a car without seatbelts and airbags, you're probably going to drive slower.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's a problem, but what I'm telling you is if you don't think that you're starting to get a little bit complacent, you might be deluding yourself.
Yeah. Kind of like the comedians in cars getting coffee when Jerry Seinfeld drives those like old cars and the seatbelts is like a ribbon.
Yeah, exactly. Like, huge. So yes, that's what's going on in my brain around this whole Sawstop thing.
Great question. So that was from Will. Ezel Foutines wants to know if you recommend pine or cedar for a wooden, I don't know. I just butchered that name. Fuentes, sorry.
Go ahead.
For wooden signs.
What was the question?
Outdoor wooden signs, wouldn't that be cedar?
Sure, cedar. You know, wooden signs take a beating.
They do.
Yeah.
You did the wooden signs for Mateo's old school.
Well, that wasn't my choice. They used cedar fence posts and pre-bought letters from Michael's. And they were MDF, so don't use that.
He worked so hard on these welcome signs. He made sure that there was no nails showing. And I've drove by and they've screwed them in.
Well, the problem is they keep falling down. And it's two cedar fence pieces. Those little, they're usually
planks.
What kind of cedar? I forget. Anyway, but they're like little planks, and then they just kind of nailed letters to them. And then when they fall, it just falls apart. It's ridiculous.
I was
some kind of cedar.
When I saw that.
Yeah, some kind of cedar is good. I don't know. Talk to sign people. What other options they use for signs?
Skew tube. Have you ever used a router to round over box joints? If so, what's the best way to prevent tear out?
Oh. Well, if I were going to route box joints, I would probably pre-work the edge a little bit, maybe with a file or rasp or even a little bit of sandpaper. I find that if you sort of pre-soften things, you have less of a chance of tearing out. If you just go at it straight away, you're right, you may wind up getting some issues. Also take very light cuts. Don't take the entire, depending on the severity of the round over, don't take it all in one shot, maybe take it in a couple passes.
Chris wants to know, when using dark woods like walnut, would you recommend using a dark wood glue, or is yellow glue fine?
That's fine.
Fine. If there is still more dimensioning to do.
I always use regular glue simply because I just don't keep the dark stuff around.
Because he's lazy.
Because I'm a lazy. But with as much walnut as I've been working with, I've talked to a few people who do use the dark colored glue, and it's a minor detail. It's not that big of a deal, but if you can make that glue line disappear even more, why not?
Does Titebond have dark glue?
Yeah, they make a dark glue that works great for a species like walnut. So yeah, go ahead and use it if you want to. If you don't mind having an extra glue, and if you're going to use it all, and you're doing a couple of projects out of something dark, then I say yeah, definitely use a dark glue.
Echo Fox in the chat room says a big hello from Kuwait.
Oh, hello.
Hey, Echo Fox.
How are you?
Dude.
Is it hot there?
I'm going to say
dusty?
Probably. He might be in the city. Jason Marson, I have a new interest in woodworking, and I want to figure out if it's something I will enjoy enough to invest money. Any suggestions on what/how to get started, projects, etc.?
I think if you're going to get started, taking a class is a good thing to do. If you can
use
manage
somebody else's tools.
Yeah, or if like a Pratt Fine Arts type place, if you could find a co-op shop or something where like a maker space where you can actually get time on tools, maybe work with some people, or if the funds are there, take a class. That's a great way to find out if you like this. You know, actually build something, have a little bit of success, and also learn how to do this stuff properly in person from someone who knows what they're talking about. That's a great way to set you up for success.
I think any hobby that has like a barrier, like a dollar barrier to entry, it's best to try it out with
someone else's stuff before you invest in it. And I try to do as much of that as you can. Maybe look for local meetups and see if you can't make a few friends who do this stuff, because honestly, when it comes to this as a hobby and doing woodworking, friendships and collaborations and things like that can really increase your enjoyment of it, and could make the difference between this being a lifelong thing and maybe a temporary thing. So
as I was going through all the videos to put up on Amazon, I came across the video where you sawed off the box top. Do you remember that?
Yeah, for Sawmill Creek, I think it was.
Yeah, so speaking of collaborations, the idea was the community would build this box, and you got to
pass
do
it around.
I tried to find that damn box, and it just disappeared.
That's why that stuff never works. That never works. Someone always drops the ball, they get busy, and they can't finish their part, and then this box that everybody worked on is just gone.
No one knows where it is.
Even when it happened, a lot of people were like, hey, whatever happened to that box? I'm like, no idea.
No idea.
Somewhere in the chain, it got lost.
So you got to see Marc's part, which is sawing
off the top.
The top of it.
And that was it.
Echo Fox says it's hot, dusty, and rainy.
Well, that's an interesting combination.
I guess maybe the rain makes it dusty?
No. The rain kills the dust, but then the wind picks up and kicks. It's like Phoenix.
Yeah, that's true. A haboob.
A big old haboob.
A bahoob. Let's see. Sideband Samurai. In broad strokes, what is your process when thinking about a new project? Do you think about how you assemble the project, what types of joint you'll use, etc.?
I think about those things, but those come later. When I'm doing a project, most of the time, I think about what I want it to look like, and the 30,000 foot view. Essentially, I want to know what it looks like, where it's going to go. Maybe what features I want it to have visually, and then I figure out how to engineer joints that support that thing. Yeah, so I kind of work from the outside in. And then a lot of times that's the hang-up point is do I have the skills and the ability to design joinery that will make that thing come to life.
Cool. Chris McCoy, have you ever tried the shark pull saws? It has a canted handle.
Yeah, canted handle.
Just wondering, is more comfortable than a standard Japanese saw, and if the blade is up to par?
I don't know. Never used them.
Yeah, I've never heard of them.
So basically, I know what he's talking about, though. It's basically like this, and I'm guessing it's one where the handle is just at a little bit of an angle. So instead of having to hold your arm and your wrist up, you can hold it at a more comfortable position.
Oh, and it goes
and the saw blade is straight.
Interesting.
I have never used them, so I can't say anything about them.
Levi Martin, how would you recommend getting motivated in the shop? We've talked about this before. Lately, I haven't felt like going out into the shop, probably because I'm really busy with other things in life.
Okay, I'm going to say the same thing I kind of always say. First of all, don't worry about it. If you don't feel like going in the shop, don't force it. Sometimes people feel guilty about that, and I think when you spend money, we're just talking about spending money and getting into it, you feel guilty if you're not in there using this stuff. But I personally believe you should be letting nature take its course, and if you don't feel like going in there, don't go in there. If you know that it's something you do want to continue doing and you're just looking for that extra little kick in the pants, for me, it's a shop project.
Yeah.
I build a cabinet for the shop. I organize anything to help me organize and make the space more efficient. Always gets me charged up.
Calibrate your tools.
Calibration is good. The other thing, step back to the classes again. If you can experience a class or go to a meetup or something like that, being around other creative people and learning stuff is actually a great way to keep you motivated because you get new ideas.
I saw your Instagram story where you talked about that.
Yeah, yesterday when I was leaving, I was thinking of all these great ideas that were just popping in my head that I want to execute. And of course, I have no time to do them. It was just like in the car, it was a great idea. But in reality, I'm like,
as I'm driving, I want to.
That's a lot of work. But yeah, so you come up with these ideas because you're inspired by other people. And I spent 2 weeks in other people's shops and we got dusty and we did work. But all I wanted to do was come back to my own shop and get something done.
Did you hug your workbench when you got it?
Yes, I did. Did you see my picture of Dougie in the workbench today?
No, I didn't see it.
I said bench dog. He was standing up on the shelf.
Was he? He's funny like that. He likes to get up on
He's a weird little dog.
Yeah, he's a weird dog.
I love him.
Alex Leffelman, do you find yourself losing a lot of sleep in the middle of a project or while planning because you can't get your brain out of a project mode, envisioning the upcoming work? Any tips on disconnecting?
Tylenol PM. That's how you disconnect. Yeah, absolutely.
Meditation.
Meditation is good. I discussed this with my work in the shop that I was in there till 1 or 2 in the morning with Anne, and there was no way I was going to be able to go to sleep when I came back in. Here are a couple key things. Stop working early. Get yourself out of the shop. The shop lights are not conducive to getting your brain and your body ready for sleep. So you got to disconnect from it earlier and find, go on Netflix and find a show that you want to watch. I do find watching TV or some show is a great way to get my brain out of that thing. It's hard to be, to get into a show and still think about what's going on with a project. So do some other form of entertainment. See, my brain is like, there's only so much room in there, right? And if it's filled with woodworking stuff, I just misused literally. I hate when people do that. I literally just used literally the wrong way. So I have to take more stimulus, shove it in my head, and pop out the stuff that was in there, and then I have a clearer perspective in my brain.
You are cleared!
And also video games are good for that. So find your other thing. You're different than me. You might not be TV or a video game. Maybe reading a book. That's a good thing. But find some other entertainment to shove into your brain and knock that other stuff out. And then meditate.
That's how I go to sleep now.
Is it?
I just, like last night, my brain wouldn't shut off. So I use that, the Simple Habit app.
A guided meditation
and,
can be helpful.
They have a on-the-go sleep. I do 10 minutes. Kelly Boyce, most boring voice in the world, and I love her. So
she's great.
Within 5 minutes, I'm like, out.
And I do that, and I go, I better go order some tools. I was in a good tool ordering mood. All right.
Kelly's my girl.
Couple more, and we'll get out of here.
Got a super chat from Brian Booth. Wanted to say thanks for keeping me occupied on my long drives to work. Always enjoy the show. Important question: is hot dog a sandwich? If you eat it like him, it is.
It depends on how you make it. What I call my college hot dog sandwich is if you take usually about 3 hot dogs, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have a hot dog bun, what you have is a hamburger bun or 2 pieces of bread. And you slice the hot dogs down the middle, open them up like butterfly, and you have 3 of them across, a little bit of ketchup and mustard. That's a hot dog sandwich. It's delicious. All right, what else we got?
Scott Riddle, do you recommend for someone that has a very, very hard, well, he just said one very, sorry, I made you very, very.
Very, very.
With math and visualization, a future project, and completely stinks at drawing, stick figures even look bad, specifically someone with ADHD.
Oh, geez.
What do you recommend? For what?
Gosh, Scott, I don't really know what I'm answering here. What do you recommend for someone that has a very hard time with math and visualizing a future project and completely stinks at drawing, specifically? Okay, here's what I recommend for you, Scott. Try to research basic design things, all right, like parameters. Like look at George Walker's blog and find his, he's got some books out there too. Look into his theory of whole number ratios in design. The reason I say this is because I want you to start to practice designing on the fly. And this is something where you don't have a big project like fully laid out. You're not thinking about that. What you're thinking about is, I know I want to make a table. All right, and I know I want it to fit approximately in this space. So what part am I going to start with? I'm going to start with the base and probably the legs first. All right, so I'm going to go grab the stock, and I think I'll do a little research. The legs should be about this high, and then a top on top of it. Maybe it's about 31 inches high. So the legs should be maybe 30 or 30 and a quarter. And what you're going to do is start building this thing as you go. Now you'll make mistakes, and you might come out with a design that isn't quite as good as if you sort of planned it all out from the beginning, but designing on the fly is a great exercise, and especially if you have trouble concentrating and trouble focusing on this stuff and thinking of all of this stuff ahead of time, you can really get good at doing that. And newsflash, guess what happened with Anne's project?
Design on the fly.
100%.
Yeah.
Like we had an idea of what was going to happen, but it wasn't all planned out. We basically knew the approximate size, but we worked out all the numbers and dimensions as we went. And it was based a lot on the material we had, right? So that is probably a good method for you to look into and try. But it does require some confidence in your abilities and your ability to make good split-second decisions. But that's...
Well, and some people are saying SketchUp, but I think that kind of goes back to kind of focusing and planning it.
Yeah, I mean, if he's got attention issues, he may not be able to sit down for long and plan that far. So the actual doing, and planning as you go. I'm
kind of the same way. I don't like to think about something too long. Like I have a general idea, and then I'm like, I just got to get in there and do it.
Make it happen, Captain.
Make it happen.
All right, let's take one more, shall we?
Okay, we got, Triple J Custom, Jose, just did a super chat for...
Nice. Didn't he do one at the beginning?
He did.
Dude, what are you doing, man? Thank you.
Notice Anne uses Titebond 3. She states it's for working time. What do you think about the thickness of it?
Okay, well, with the Titebond 3, here's what actually happened. We're in the shop. She had Titebond 3, and I needed to do a sponsored ad for Titebond. And I was like, I would love to feature you in this. But what can we say? Because we're doing an interior piece. What can we say is the reason why you're using Titebond 3?
I have it on hand.
Because this is what I have. Well, one of the attributes of Titebond 3 that's kind of nice is it has increased open time. So you could, if you're in a dry environment, you have a little bit more time to work. So that's what we focused on. In reality, I don't know what she uses all the time. She might use Titebond 3 or Titebond 2. But as far as you're talking about like the viscosity of it, I don't know. It's fine, but do I have 3 over there? I think I have some 3.
I see 3. See a gallon.
Yeah, I do have a big gallon of 3 over there. So I haven't used it in a while though. But the thickness is fine. I don't have any problems with it. One more.
James Hickey says, "Hey guys, first time chat participant. Been fighting table saw blade alignment issues.
Oy.
Finally got it there.
Good.
Where should the splitter be positioned versus the blade?"
Well, generally speaking, and I could be wrong here, but my gut says as close as possible without touching. Just like the Showcase Showdown. As close as possible without going over. So, you like Price is Right?
I love Price is Right.
So you know what I'm talking about.
It's my show.
Typically, a riving knife is something that is curved, and it kind of hugs the back of the blade, but generally you don't want it to go any higher than the blade because then you can't do non-through cuts with it. But if you're doing a regular splitter, you may not have that option. A lot of times the splitters are static in their position, or if you get like an MJ splitter from Microjig, it's just going to be there and you have to pop it out when you need to get it out of the way. But the closer it is to the back of the blade, the safer it's going to be. The trick with kickback is it hits the back of the blade and the back of the blade sends it at you. So if you have a piece of material behind it, you're going to stop that from happening. But if that piece of material is all the way back here, well, you still have all of this distance for that piece to travel where it can still kick back. So as long as you're within a safe range away from the blade, and I would say if it's an installation that you are 100% confident in its stability, that it's not going to move. But then again, we're talking about like a riving knife versus a splitter. So again, make it as close as possible as long as it's safe. You never want it to make contact with the blade. And if you have the ability to get it as much as 1/8 of an inch away from the blade, that's probably what I would aim for.
Cool. All right.
All right, we're good?
I want to pick a winner. Can I pick the winner this?
Oh, you want to pick?
Yep. I'm going to pick Scott Riddles for the Guild project.
Scott Riddles. I wonder if he
Riddle.
walks around
It's not
like
Riddle.
this.
It's just Riddle. I put an S on his name. Sorry, Scott.
I made him into like a Batman villain. I have a riddle for you.
Gotham was on.
What's black and white and red all over? All right.
All right, Scott, email me, Nicole@thewoodwhisperer.com, and I will get you set up with a project in the Guild.
He heard you. He said, woo! What was his question?
It was about building the project. So planning,
with attention span stuff? Well, hopefully he has enough attention to send you an email.
This is true.
Good stuff. Well, hey, and the good news is Guild projects are really well organized and chaptered.
Yep.
So you can focus on one stage of the project or go back to a chapter if you forgot something. I think is very helpful for someone who may have attention span problems.
Well, and if you're a visual learner, they're really helpful.
Yeah, totally.
I'm a visual. I've never been able to read something and like him, he could read a whole book and like recite it back.
Totally.
Me, I read the same book
Totes.
and like, you got it. Pictures.
What I do.
Video.
Oh, by the way, listen to Ready Player One on the
yeah.
way to Seattle. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It was so good. And folks who are interested in that sort of stuff, pop culture, 80s, video games, and geekery, read the book before you go see the movie because the movie's probably not going to be as good.
I hear the movie.
It might be.
Yeah, I hear the movie.
It might be. But the book was awesome.
Yeah.
Read by Will Wheaton.
What?
What?
Wait.
Whiskey. Will Wheaton. All right, thanks everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you next time. Oh, by the way, patreon.com/woodwhisperer.
You haven't read any...
I didn't do nothing. Patreon.com/woodwhisperer if you want to help support the show.
We'll give you your shout out next week, right?
Yeah, we'll do some shout outs.
We
I
had
don't
so
have them on my
much.
phone.
We
A
had
lot going on. So busy. So busy.
Bye, everybody.